This is Alec Debogorski, and you are listening to TNCRadio.LIVE.
Hello and welcome to TNCRadio.LIVE. This is Keep On Talkin' with your host, Tom Kirk. Tom is an over-the-road driver with over 2 million safe miles. On this show, he interviews the people who help make the trucking world happen. It's real life, live from the road.
If you've ever watched TV's Ice Road Truckers, you may remember heavy haul driver Carey Hall. We get to know him some today and we'll learn about how he got started into trucking. With the debate that's currently going on about how old should somebody be before they can start driving trucks, Carey Hall and some of his family experiences give an interesting perspective on that when done properly, some of the best drivers may start rather young. Carey Hall's experiences growing up in a trucking family is just another great example of real life out here on the road.
Thank you for coming and joining us today, Carey.
Sure, you're welcome.
So let's start off with, I guess a good place to start is, how did you get into trucking?
Oh, my dad was trucking years ago when I was real small. I can't even say how old I was then when he came home in the truck for the first time, and it got my attention right away. And so as soon as I saw it, I loved it, and it's been that way ever since.
So your father was a trucker. Was he a first-generation trucker, or did somebody else in the family was trucking before him?
Yes, he was the first one in the family that was trucking out of our family.
Now, do you remember if your dad ever told you how or why he got into trucking?
No, he didn't. And I think it was just to have a job, really, but he never said. I've never asked him to this day, how did he first get into it? But, that's interesting. I will have to do that. When I get back home, I will ask him that. He's 79 years old and still trucking.
I don't know, that's amazing. Actually, I'll have to talk to him sometime if he doesn't mind. I'd love to hear some of his stories as well.
He will love it. He will love it.
Now, are you the only trucker in the family besides your father, or is there some more as well?
No, there's more. As a matter of fact, my baby brother right now, he's trucking with me also right now in Alaska, and so he's been at it for quite a while. And my oldest brother, which was also trucking with us for a while. He passed away in 2010, but he was trucking also with us for a little bit up here. And then I got cousins too that's trucking also out in our family. So there's quite a few of us now.
It definitely sounds like it now has, like any of the kids or your nieces and nephews gotten into trucking, or have they not shown an interest in it?
One of my nephews did. He drove for a while, and then he stopped driving. So I think he's probably interested in other stuff. So he didn't seem like he wanted to keep doing it, But
well, I often say, trucking isn't for everyone, and if you're going to get out of trucking, try to do it in the first 2 to 3 years, because much past 3 to 4 years, it's almost like it becomes an addiction.
It is. Once you get it in your blood, it's like I don't know if I could even get it out. As of right now, I don't know of anything else that I would just say I want to quit trucking and go do something different. I don't think there's anything else I want to do.
I think I have to agree with that, because even when I think of other things that I could do, whether it's working with the radio station or other things, sooner or later it seems like trucking comes back involved, whether it's directly or indirectly. And like I said, I agree with you. I don't know how I'll ever get fully out of it. And sometimes I got to look at myself and go, well, one of these days my body isn't going to cooperate. So I'm like, yeah, we'll worry about that when it happens. So
yeah, that's kind of what scares me about living and trucking, because sometimes there's medical things that can take you out of the game also, and it's like I just, hope and pray that I never come down with anything that will actually make me have to stop driving. And because, like I say, I don't know how I would deal with it, but how I would, cope with it. But I guess, if I had to do something different, I could probably find something. But as of right now, to where I'm still healthy and still able to drive, for me just changing my mind to go do something different, I really don't think that's going to happen.
I hear that, and I also have a feeling where for some reason you ever did have to step out of the truck, you'd find something that kept you in the industry in some way. I don't know what that might be, but I just got a feeling you'd never fully escape it.
Yeah, I'll probably have to be somewhere where I got at least just get in the truck every now and then, and even if I got to ride with somebody else, just where I can just sit in there and just take a ride or something, just, I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what, hopefully it never comes to that, but if you ever need to go for a ride with somebody, you're more than welcome in my jump seat.
I will surely keep that in mind. And I'll hold you to it, too.
Hey, it's people who know me know I don't make promises because things can always change. Carey, it's a promise.
Yep, well, I appreciate that.
About how old were you when you started driving truck?
When I first learned, I was 13 years old.
Now, was you driving over the road or on back roads, or where was that?
It was back roads and interstate. My uncle was driving in Louisiana, my dad's brother, and he taught me how to drive the semi-trucks, which was a 82 cab over International Transstar. That's the truck I learned to drive on. And this was in Louisiana, and the first thing that I pulled was, I think it was a semi-end-up. Yeah, it was a semi-end-up. And the second trail I pulled was a bulk tanker, pneumatic tanker.
Okay. And if somebody's listening who's not real familiar with trucking, what is a semi-end-up?
It's basically like a trailer you haul sand and gravel in.
So basically like a dump truck body just on the trailer.
Yeah. They're usually like 28 to 40 feet long. Just depends on what kind you go after.
And then how old were you when you officially started to drive truck? Because it sounds like from 13 to whatever age, you were a bit of, how shall we say, a bit of a wildcatter.
Yeah, because I was actually, well, and I hate to say this, but I was actually like breaking the law when I learned how to drive, because I learned when I didn't even have a driver license, I learned how to drive. And I got my first license at 15, and that was also due to my grandfather, which he had a farm, which I was raised up on, and I learned to actually drive the tractor and the pickup truck, which was a 4-speed GMC pickup truck. It was probably like that truck was maybe like a 81 or 82 mile, I think.
Okay. And
so I learned how to drive that in the field and the tractor. And then he had some bigger trucks, which is, the size of like a big U-Haul truck.
Okay.
And which is what he hauled, all of his produce on, and that was really the first biggest truck that I learned to drive on before the semi truck. So I knew like the basic stuff on how to handle a truck or whatever, and so that's kind of really where pretty much started out at,
And I'm guessing from the sounds that you grew up on a farm, and I know a lot of people I've talked to over the years, they started driving on the farm, helping out in different ways long before it was officially legal, shall we say.
Yeah, it was, I gotta say, I got my biggest boost of courage from when I actually learned how to drive that semi-truck, because we were actually out working one day and running back and forth to New Orleans from maybe like 70-something miles round, not round trip, but one way. And we got done working a day, and when we got back to the pit, we normally parked the truck, and my uncle would, he would take me home and drop me off at my house, and then, so we got done that day. He told me to stop when we went into the pit. He said, go back and get the truck loaded, and I'll see you when you come back out. So I went back in the back, got loaded, came out, and I was sitting there looking for my uncle, and then this guy came over, and he's like, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm looking for my uncle. I said, I was coming out so, we could go home. And he said, well, your uncle said to tell you to take the truck on to your house. And so I left out by myself and went like 15 miles from the pit to the house, and that was when I got my biggest boost of confidence, and that's when I realized, I could do this, and it was just game on from that day on.
Hey, rideshare drivers and gig economy workers, the host of TNCRadio.LIVE, the Rideshare Rodeo Podcast, and the Gig Economy Podcast come together for news, talk, music, stories, laughs, and more. We're live Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, right here on TNCRadio.LIVE.
This blog on TNCRadio.LIVE is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. Inspections for truck drivers. Getting stopped for an inspection in the middle of a delivery is a situation every truck driver dreads. Inspections are time-consuming and interfere with the driver's schedule for delivering their load on time. However, they are essential for regulating safety conditions for everyone on the road. There's 6 different levels of DOT roadside inspections. Each level has a unique set of requirements and can happen at any time. It's important to be familiar with all 6 levels of DOT inspections, so if you have one, you can pass. Level 1, North American Standard Inspection. The Level 1 inspection is often referred to as a full inspection and is the most thorough. There are 37 steps to a Level 1 inspection. During this inspection, the driver's credentials and the vehicle will be examined. Because the Level 1 inspection has so many steps, it does take a significant amount of time. A good way to help speed up the process of a Level 1 inspection is by staying on top of driving requirements and proper truck maintenance. Here's some things the inspector will check during a Level 1 inspection. Medical examiner certificate, alcohol and drug use, daily logs, hours of service, HOS documentation, seat belt use, driver and vehicle inspection reports, brake system, chopping devices, exhaust system, truck frame, fuel system, turn signals, brake lamps, tail lamps, headlamps, lamps on projecting loads, safe loading, steering mechanism, suspension, tires, van and open-top trailer bodies, wheels and rims, windshield wipers, hazardous material, HM requirements. If you're a hazard hauler, have your shipping papers ready. Level 2. Walk-around driver vehicle inspection. Level 2 inspections are a less invasive process and are also the most common. They're similar to the Level 1 inspections, except there is less involvement in the vehicle inspection part. During the Level 2 inspection, the examiner will do a walk-around driver vehicle inspection. They'll check everything that's in a Level 1, but will not physically get under the vehicle. Level 3. Driver-only inspection. The Level 3 inspections are the second most common type of inspection. Since the inspection doesn't include the vehicle, it can go relatively quickly. A driver will be expected to present a record of duty status, that's RODS, driver's license, hazmat requirements, medical card and waiver, skill performance evaluation certificate, vehicle inspection report, HMDG requirements, at HOS Documentation. Level 4, Special Inspections. A Level 4 inspection is a one-time inspection of a specific trend within the industry. This type of inspection happens when the Department of Transportation wants to do further research on industry issues. Level 5, Vehicle-Only Inspection. A Level 5 inspection is like Level 1, but the driver is not present during the inspection. During this inspection, the examiner will check everything that's in the Level 1 inspection except those relevant to the driver. Level 6 Enhanced NAS Inspection for Radioactive Shipments. The Level 6 inspection is only relevant to drivers that haul radioactive materials. These inspections are put into place to ensure that drivers who haul radioactive material are following proper safety protocol. This infoblog was brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net.
Welcome back to Keep On Talkin' on TNCRadio.LIVE. Here's Tom Kirk.
Second-generation truck driver and ice road trucker Carey Hall tells us about how he got his start driving truck in Alaska.
And then I finally got my first driver's license when I made 15. Then when the CDL came out, I got that in Alaska. I just went in the DMV, gave them my license, and they gave me a CDL back over the counter. That's all I had to do to get mine when I got it, because I already had the Class A license by the time I got to Alaska, and it's been good. It's been good ever since then, It
was about 13 when you drove truck for the first time, so I'm guessing that's when your uncle had you drive from the pit to the house, correct?
Yeah, yep. Pretty exciting time for me there.
Now, skipping forward a little bit, was 15 when you first got your CDL?
No, that's when I got my first driver's license.
Okay, and then how old were you when you got your CDL?
Oh, I really don't even remember. My insurance lady just asked me the other day when that was. When did I get my CDL? And all I could tell her was it was when it first came out. In Alaska, when it first came out, that's when I just went in the DMV and gave my driver's license, and they just took my picture and printed up my CDL and gave it to me.
So did you have the chauffeur's license before then, or?
Yeah, it was just what they call a Class A.
Okay.
Class, and that was all I needed for Alaska, was a Class A license when I got it. No, because I had heard of the chauffeur license before, but I still don't know of anything extra that you had to do to actually get a chauffeur license. But Alaska was always different on a lot of things than everywhere else.
Well, what took you up to Alaska?
My dad was there, and also my uncle was there, the one that taught me to drive. And once I got done in Louisiana, I was just ready for a change, and I went to a semester of college over in Lafayette, Louisiana. Then it was USL. Yeah, I got done doing my homework that one night in the dorm room, and I just got up, went down the hallway, called my dad, and said, I want to come to Alaska. And about 3 weeks later, right over the Christmas break, I was gone. I was 18 then. That summer after I got to Alaska, I started driving.
And what would you say was there a bit of a difference or a shock to you from driving in Louisiana versus driving in Alaska?
Oh, it definitely was, because I had visited Alaska before in the summertime, but when I moved there, I went there, I think it was on the 13th of January in '84. And that summer, I had to haul some dirt with my dad on a construction job. He had leased his end up, and so we could work on this job. And so I worked out there for a while with him, and then I think the next year in '85, he ordered a new W900 Kenworth, and which I still have it down here in Georgia right now, where I'm at right now, and it's still down here. So I actually been thinking about restoring it. And,
that would, I think, be something that would be special both to you and your father if at some point you went ahead and restored that.
Yeah. That's just what I've been thinking about, and getting ready to actually start working on it here by next year.
You know, you started working up there, it sounds like hauling dirt and doing construction stuff. Do you remember was that during the winter as well, or, you know, doing what people would now call the ice road, or was that just more of the highways that were in Alaska?
Oh, no, this is just more of like the highway jobs and, you know, construction jobs that we were working on then. And so this was 84, and then I think I did construction for like 2 years, and then I actually got started with Carlisle, I think, in the spring of 86.
And how long did you drive for Carlisle, and what was it like to work for them?
Well, I started as an owner operator there in 86, and I did that until like 88, I think, and then I started driving one of the company trucks, and I just parked the truck for a while, and I drove the company truck from like 88 to 93, and I decided I was going to move out of Alaska because I started running up north to the Prudhoe Bay in like 89, and did that all up until 93. Just, you know, a lot of back-to-back trips, and so I kind of got burned out on that, and then I decided I was going to move. So after a while, I gave them my notice and told them I was moving, and then I got back in my truck again and started working again around there locally. I worked again for the rest of that summer of 93. Did a job in the fall, and right after the first of the year, I loaded all my stuff up, and I drove out all the way down to Louisiana, stayed there for about a month, and then I came over to Georgia. And then I stayed there for 10 years, and was trucking around here for quite a while, and then actually started working back in Alaska again in 2001, actually for Carlisle again, because my dad had bought another truck down here, and me and my brother was driving it back to Alaska, and picked up a load for Carlisle on the way up, actually, and pulled it back to Alaska out of Edmonton there, and stayed there for about 3 weeks after I got there, and then I came back home, and then they called me to come back up, so I came back up, and then I started going back and forth for like 4 years. I would just go up and work for maybe 3 weeks or a month or whatever, and then I'd come back home for a while, and I did that for like 4 years, and then I got tired of being away from home so much, you know, for having kids here and a wife here too in Georgia, and we got tired of being away from them. So I decided that I would quit again, and then just come be home in Georgia, you know, and still, you know, I had my truck still here, trucking around here with it, and I don't know. Then I let them get me again. You know, you come back again and help us out. We really need help, and did it again. And then finally, they asked me if I would move back to Alaska, so I did that, and that's how I ended up back in Alaska in 05, and been back there now ever since then.
All right, and in 05, did you move up there with the family, or are they still down in Georgia, or how did you work that out?
No, me and the whole family moved back up there.
I'm assuming your kids spent most of their time down in Georgia. What was their thought about moving up to Alaska?
They were actually pretty good with it. They were I don't know. I think they were ready for just about anything. I had two of my kids was born in Alaska and one was born in Georgia.
Okay.
And so at the time we moved back, my oldest son was in the Naval Academy, so he didn't have any say-so in it. And then my daughter, she didn't really have any complaints. And the baby boy, he was like, he's pretty much too small to care where we lived at. So it was actually a good time to do it. And everything worked out fine, and we went back to Alaska and still there now.
This info blog on TNCRadio.LIVE is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. ISS score for truck drivers explained and how to find it. An inspection selection system score is called ISS score, was created by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, FMCSA, to help law enforcement officers determine if the truck should be inspected. The inspection selection system score is frequently used to determine if your truck will receive a bypass command or not. There is often confusion between the ISS score and the CSA score. While there's a correlation between the two, they're not the same thing. The CSA score identifies high-risk motor carriers. The score is based on the performance data of the driver. The ISS score uses a combination of different CSA categories known as Behavior Analysis and Safety Improvement Category. That's basics for short, to determine the carrier's overall inspection rating from 0 to 100. Similar to the CSA score, the lower, the better. What determines your ISS inspection value? Unsafe driving, hours of service, HOS, driver fitness, controlled substances and alcohol, vehicle maintenance and cargo, hazardous material. There are 3 different ISS ratings categories: inspect, optional, or pass. Inspect, 75 to 100. Optional, 50 to 74. Pass, 1 to 49. ISS scores can determine how often you'll get inspected. Although some roadside inspections are at random times, most will be as a result of a higher ISS score. How to find ISS score. The FMCSA has an online portal where carriers can log in to check their ISS scores. You'll log in using your DOT-issued PIN. From there, you'll see the company information section on the main screen. Next, click the blue button labeled Inspection Selection System Info. This info blog was brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net.
Trucking can be a tough profession, full of ups and downs. Many times drivers and their families may have hardship through no fault of their own, such as medical emergencies. As a parent, few things are worse than an approaching holiday season and a bank account full of moths, knowing you are having to choose between keeping the lights on and food on the table. Presents are nothing more than an IOU. TruckersChristmasGroup.org helps bring hope by giving trucking families in need a non-restricted grant of at least $500. To nominate a family in need or to donate, go to tcgo.org. Nominations close December 13th, 2021.
You're listening to TNCRadio.LIVE. This is Keep On Talking with your host, Tom Kirk.
Ice road trucker and second-generation truck driver Carey Hall tells us a little bit about hauling in Alaska and on the Dalton Highway.
Thinking back over the years, are there any stories or experiences that just really stand out in your mind?
Ooh, well, I would say the most popular ones was getting up and down the Hall Road from back and forth to Prudhoe Bay. And
okay,
you know, and I would say most of the time it was the bad weather. But when the weather was good, you know, it was pretty fun trips up and down through there. But sometimes when the wind's blowing and the snow is blowing, yeah, it can make for a bad trip. And I remember having to park and sit on the side of the road for 3 or 4 days at a time before you can move again. And sometimes you just got to wait it out, you know, and let the storm blow through, and then you can get in and get back out. But sometimes it works out, sometimes it don't.
Now, for somebody who may not be familiar with the Hall Road, is that a road you can drive year-round or only certain times of the year?
Oh, no, we could drive year-round. If it was, well, I'll give you the best scenarios. If it was summertime and the road was dry and the road was smooth, weather was nice, you could have a good trip, and you know, it would be nice, smooth. But wintertime, I think I would have preferred it to be like 20, 25 below, and no wind, clear days, the best trucking you ever want to see up there on that road.
Now, is that a dirt road, or have they managed to pave it over the years, or what kind of a road is that it like to drive on?
When I first started running up there, once you left out of Fairbanks, well, I was out of Fairbanks, it was like 10 miles up the Fox there, and then the Elliott Highway started, and then you went 72 miles, and then you run off the pavement onto the dirt, which would be 1 mile of the Dalton Highway, and then right at mile 413 was when you got into the oil field there, right in the edge of Prudhoe Bay there. And it was all dirt road from 413 miles. And over the years, they started chip sealing some patches here and there that they put in. You know, it would be like maybe 5, 6, 8, or 10 miles or whatever patches every now and then that they put in. But it's like you look forward to get to that stretch because you knew you had a stretch of pavement to get on. And this was summertime, because wintertime it was covered with ice, so it was going to be, you know, pretty smooth, but just had, you know, it was just going to be ice snowpack, you know.
Right.
But summertime, yeah, you'd look to get to those patches of chip seal whenever you was running up there, because a lot of time it was just all potholes and just rough road, you know. And so, you know, it was mostly dirt then when I started. It was pretty much all dirt, but they've made a lot of improvements now. I hadn't been up the road now since 2014, and haven't missed it yet.
You're a mind reader, because I was getting ready to ask you if you had missed it. So.
I haven't missed it yet. I missed more of the loads that I hauled up there than actually missing the road, you know. But if I do have to miss it, I got a lot of friends that got trucks that still go up there, so I'll either have them give me a load, or either I'll just go jump on one of these trucks and go.
What would you say was your most memorable road when you were hauling the Hall Road up the Prudhoe Bay?
I would say my best times was hauling all the oil field modules up there with all the push trucks and pilot cars, and you had like a group of people that usually it's like 8 or 9, sometimes 10 people, you know, that we have on a load, and so it's like, you know, you got a big group of people, and everybody's got a part to play, and you know, it's pretty exciting moving a load like that up the road.
I can definitely imagine that. And how did you get into doing that heavy haul up there? Because I'm guessing not a lot of people did that.
No, it wasn't a lot of people doing it. One of the times when I got back up there, like I said, having, you know, being at the company there for a while, even after I left a few times, and I think one of the owners there kind of picked me for a load that one night they had out at the scales. I think it was a module. It was the first one that I pulled like that, you know. And I was coming back in from Seattle with a load, but I was also just returning back up there to work. But instead of, you know, flying up that trip, I drove a truck up out of Seattle, and they had a load already loaded out there, and the guy that was supposed to take it couldn't go, so he was like, well, I think Carey's coming in. Just get him to take it. And it was like, so when I got there, my dispatcher said, we need you to pull the module tonight. And I was like, okay, let's go. So I went and got on it and took it all the way to Prudhoe Bay and unloaded and came back. And once I did that, it was all over. That was all I got after that. Then, pretty much a lot of the big stuff, and other than a lot of other, machinery and stuff, dozers and backhoes and loaders, all that kind of stuff. Did a lot of that too, but, whenever modules came up, it's like, yep, be ready to go.
Now, when you say a modular, what is that?
It's like a building made out of steel, built out of steel beams, and it's basically it can be like a shop. They usually like 20 to 22 feet wide and 80. They're usually generally about 80 feet long, and it's like one big unit that we load on the trailer and we haul it out of town, out of Anchorage, all the way to Prudhoe Bay.
And for how much would one of those weigh on average? Was that a 1 truckload, 2 truckload, 3 truckload? How would that usually work?
Generally, it was around 200,000 pounds. So by the time you load it and get the trailer and everything, the weight with the trailer was usually generally around 400,000 pounds. By the time we got everything loaded and weighed, and the weight varied, because of all the stuff that they put in it, and sometimes we had to take stuff out of them, just to make it down to the weight that we were actually permitted for.
What was the heaviest load you had ever pulled?
428,000 out of Fairbanks. One time I pulled a module out of there. It was about 22 feet tall, and I think it was about 18 feet wide, 80 feet long.
Wow. I've been driving about 16 years, mostly reefer and box van. I've seen some fairly good-sized loads here in the States, but that just kind of blows my mind thinking, something of that dimensions and that weight, and then you're hauling it on ice. Because down here, a lot of us have a joke in the winter, you don't drive on ice, you aim. Is that kind of the attitude you have up there, or have you guys maybe developed better techniques than some of us who are not used to it for coping with the ice?
We come up with a system up there that worked out pretty well. One thing you have to have is the right equipment, and then the right driver in the equipment, and make sure that that everybody works together, because I can't move a load like that by myself unless if I was on flat ground I could do it, but up there I usually had 3 to 4 push trucks to push me up the hills, and then going down the hills we would tie a couple of trucks off the back of the trailer to help go down the hill, like off the Attican Pass, something like that, and a couple of other hills we would tie a couple of trucks off to the back, and then I even started using one in the front also, and so we had 2 trucks in the front and 2 in the back, and we take the load down the pass real slow, and the next thing that matters a lot is something that a lot of people might not think that's going to make a big difference, but tire chains, having the right tire chains to pull a load like that up the mountain and then actually be able to go down the other side. You got to make sure you had really good spot tire chains with spikes on them to help you do that. And we mostly run Well, all I ever ran for those loads was Triggs, and I've never had a problem out of them unless they got worn down too much, and then you'll find out when they start wearing down because you'll find yourself doing a whole lot of spinning before you get to the top of a hill, or you find yourself in the middle of the road, in the middle of the hill, trying to get up with some bad chains on. So you want to make sure you change those out at the right time.
Ready for the power of positive and something that will put you back to a time you wanted to last forever? Music is the ultimate time machine. What was your favorite time? Do you want to go back there? LTD Radio features the songs of the 70s, 80s, and 90s that will transport you to a happier time. It'll make you smile and brighten your day. We could all use that about now. TNCRadio.LIVE is proud to carry the great music of LTD Radio.
Welcome back to Keep On Talkin' on TNCRadio.LIVE. Here's Tom Kirk.
Second-generation truck driver and ice road trucker Carey Hall tells us about some of his experiences being on History Channel's Ice Road Truckers, as well as some of the big loads that he hauled up on the Dalton Highway.
You were on Ice Road Truckers for a couple of seasons, correct?
Yeah, season 3, 4, 5, and 6.
And what did you think of that experience there? Was it something you kind of enjoyed? Maybe you would do it again?
Well, I think it was a cool show to do, but it just wasn't done like they said. That, for the most part, I like to show what they were trying to do and basically show what how we did our job up there. Which that's basically what I did. I just did what I did. How I worked up there, and that was it. Basically for me. But I don't know, some stuff about it that I thought was a little different, but it wasn't my show.
And that's fair enough, because I think anytime you look at a show like that, when you talk to people who've been on it, they have a tendency to play up on editing certain things. I know I used to watch Ice Road Truckers a lot, and for me, I'd stopped watching it as much the season where they had you and Lisa doing the one heavy haul load, and she was being a push truck and ended up bumping the trailer a little bit hard. And in all the trailers or the commercials for that episode or that segment, they showed her bumping you, and then it seemed like within a matter of seconds, you had blown a tire on the trailer. Could you tell us what really happened there?
Well, you can blow a tire anytime, but her hitting, pushing on the trailer like that wasn't going to cause a blowout of this, unless she would have broke the back of the bump on the trailer and jabbed it into the tire or something, but that didn't happen. So, like I said, a tire can blow at any time, and when that happened, things are kind of a little uncoordinated,
Right.
And sometimes that happens if you get in the wrong, I won't say the wrong spot, but if you just kind of start doing something a little different than what the plan is, then if I started doing one thing different, I decided to run at this hill, and if she's back there just cruising along and I haven't told her, well, I'm gonna make a run for this hill, let's run for it. If I don't tell her that, then once I take off and go, it's like then she got to come and catch up. So by the time she get there and catch up, I'm already dropping gears, and she's still coming up, as if she's only just got, just with her load. And then once she get up there and hook up, it's like she's going to be way in too high of a gear to even push on the load that I'm pulling. So it's like that's when a lot of stuff started happening that shouldn't be happening when both drivers are not on the same page when you're pushing or trying to move a load like that. It's like you got to pretty much be in sync with everybody else to get.
And I think if you watched the whole episode, you kind of got a sense of that, and you kind of realized that tire actually didn't blow when it kind of looked like it did in the previews. And that's kind of one of the things that frustrated me, because it's like, well, you're going to sensationalize something that never really happened. And that was kind of like made me start kind of questioning a lot of the premises on the show. And I think a lot of drivers, when a driver gets shown in a poor light, regardless of their gender or anything of that nature, when it had nothing to do with them or wasn't their fault, I think I think a lot of us tend to get disgusted and go like, yeah, I'll move along to something else. And that's kind of how it was for me. In your opinion, because if I'm not mistaken, that was the first heavy haul load Lisa had ever done. How did she do for her first load?
She did pretty damn good, because I had a couple other times when I caught her, up and down the road or whatever, I would let her push on me. Matter of fact, I would swap trucks with her, because my truck had a push bump on it, and hers didn't. So I would just jump in her truck there to get in my truck, and then I was like, so when we go up the hill, just ease up and hook up and start pushing. So just take your time and do it ahead of time. You want to hook up ahead of time because it takes longer than you think to actually get up there and hook up smoothly without actually having to run in the back of the guy you're about to push, because he don't want to get whiplash every time you come to hook up. So, it takes a while to do that. And I gotta say, there's a faster way to do it, and that's driving with both feet, the right foot on the accelerator, left foot on the brake, and also having a truck with a retarder in it. It helps out a bit too, but that's like a whole different game they explain right there. But I would switch trucks with her and let her push on me with my truck, and so I actually had caught up and down the road a few times, and actually did it to kind of get her clued in on how I felt, and sometimes I would I put her in different situations where I would just run, or just run at the hill and tell her to get up here and push, and sometimes I made it to the top of the hill before she even caught up. I was like, so now you see the difference of where you got to be at and how close you got to stay to that load in order to get hooked up before the truck actually started pulling the hill. Because I was saying, if I would have been, 200, even 300,000 pounds, by the time I would get up there and start pulling the hill and start dropping gears, then you coming up fast, and then you got to slow way down to just hook up, and then you got to get all the way down to my speed, and it's not going to work out too good by the time everybody starts dropping gears, and before you know it, you get up stopped on a hill with a broke drive line. There's a lot of things that could go wrong real fast if you don't do that the right way.
And at least from the looks of that episode, she did learn a lot, and if I'm not mistaken, went on to do some more of that heavy haul stuff in the future. Correct?
Yeah, she did, and we did a few more loads too after that, and one I actually stopped outside of Prudhoe Bay there, about 50-some miles out, and we were actually pulling a pull out, and I think I had these big trailers that we were bringing up. Yeah, because I did have some trailers, I think, and I had her pulling me up the hills. So once we got so far in, we stopped this pull out, and I went around the back of my truck. I just jumped in her truck and took off, so she had to pull them the rest of the way into town there. So I even had to pull a couple of those. I let her pull a module out of Prudhoe one morning out on the west side of the park, which was about 60-some miles away. And I let her pull it all the way out there, and she did just fine with it.
Now, with these for a normal load going to Prudhoe Bay, about how long would it take to get up there versus, let's say, one of these heavy hauls?
Well, that just depends on the weight of the load and the trailer, because a big green trailer, I think it took us the longest, and that could have been anywhere from 7 to 10 days, depending on how smooth everything went and how good the weather was.
7 to 10 days?
Yeah.
So this isn't one of these quick trips like a lot of drivers are used to down in the States, where 2, 3, 4 days at most, and you're from country to country. And about how many miles was that for 7 to 10 days?
960, I think it was 960 miles out of Anchorage up there.
So bad day you're making 10 miles an hour. On a good day you're making a little bit more than that.
Yeah, less, probably sometimes less than that. It's especially as we get into out north of Fairbanks, there you just got pretty much hill after hill, and like the first day out of Fairbanks, we usually come out of Hilltop up there, which is about 10 miles north of Fairbanks there.
Okay.
We leave out, we go the Hilltop there was about mile 6 or 7 up there, I think, and we leave out there, we go to Livingood, which was mile 72, and then we go 25 miles in on the Dalton Highway, and then we usually park there at a big pull out there. Start out the next day, and then we go like 41 miles that day, and if everything went good, sometimes we made it 90 miles. Just all depends on, if we had any problems or if the weather was, bad or not, because it always depends on weather conditions and also traffic, because it's like we had to pull all the trucks off the road so we can just drive right up the middle of the road. So any traffic coming south, we have to get those guys parked in the pull-out so we can get by them, and then they jump out again and take off after we get past them.
Pulling, let's say, a regular box van, about how long would that take on average?
Well, I would say if you had a team in a truck, they could probably make it up there in like 19 hours, which we very seldom do teams up here, but one guy in a truck, yeah, you can make it up there in like a day and a half.
So kind of comparable in the U.S. to what a solo driver can do, approximately 1,000 miles, roughly a day and a half, give or take a little bit. Shows a huge difference there. Now, what is all you're doing now?
I'm basically doing a lot of flatbed stuff now, hauling lumber and trusses and then other stuff too that comes up, that.
And is that still up in Alaska, or is it another part of the country?
No, it's all in Alaska right now.
Back to being a full owner operator, or are you driving for another company like a Carlisle or whoever it may be? Oh yeah,
just own operator there. Running about 3 trucks right now. I got 5 and running 3, and next year I'll probably be running all 5 of them.
Carey Hall, thank you for that wonderful conversation about life on the road up there in Alaska. If you'd like to find out more about Carey, you can find him on Facebook at Carey Hall.
Hey, thanks for listening to TNCRadio.LIVE's presentation of Keep On Talkin' with your host, Tom Kirk. For more information or to ask a question or to tell more about your story, send email to info@tncradio.live.